afternoon to you, our viewers at home. I'm Thabang Segaecho, your host, and you are watching Open Studio, channel 263. I'm so glad that you could be part of the program today. For those of our viewers at home who don't know, Open Studio is actually one of the flagship programs here at Cape Town TV. It's a platform where you can come on and actually come to share with us in terms of what community-based activities are you currently busy with, so you can raise awareness towards such. And if you'd like to do so and you want to be a guest on our show, won't you drop us an email at Junaid@capetowntv.org and he will sure get back to you. And on today's program, we have Mr. Geronimo, right? Geronimo, I must get that right. Deklerk. He's an activist and project manager, right, for an organization called Feed the Future. And I think that's very self-explanatory. I'm so excited to have you on the show. Welcome.
Well, thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to be on the Open Studio. I feel very excited. For those who don't know, it's Geronimo.
Geronimo, thank you so much. Yeah, thank you so much. So who is Geronimo? Like, could you tell us a little bit more about yourself?
Well, that's a question I like. Geronimo Deklerk is a young activist. He's a phenomenal project manager regarding working on self-sustaining the communities. And as you know, meaning of activists is always to make changes in communities. So Geronimo Deklerk grew up in Eleies River, the greater Eleies River, which is a place full of young and ambitious young people with a lot of talent and with a lot of ambition, like I mentioned. So Geronimo Deklerk, just a change maker, activist, project manager, and a child of God.
100%. You're very passionate about what you do. I can see it from here. What actually led you to want to become an activist and stand up for this cause?
Well, to become an activist, it's actually, it comes with a lot of hard work because, as you know, that, like I previously mentioned, an activist is someone who wants to bring changes to communities. And growing up in Eleies River, it was like something that not any young person can stand by, because while you're living your dream, you also need to fear. While you go to school, you also need to fear. While you have talent, while you have ambition, you can't practice it out because you're living in Eleies River and there's actually no support coming to Eleies River. So that is why I came up with this. Why don't I get an activist trying to make changes in the communities? So I was thinking getting an activist is the same like becoming an activist. So that is where I became an activist, to bring changes into the communities and also to recruit youth to make positive changes, to encourage them also as well to take ownership of their lives, because I mean we're surrounded by gangsterism and our people doesn't know the information around in communities and community support. So that is where the initiative came up. So I should become an activist, and becoming an activist was so great because you're standing up for the right thing and you're supporting your communities where others can't. So just like the self-sustainability, that is where an activist work came in. You make your community more educated. You educate them more about self-sustainability. So yeah, becoming an activist was, well, excellent. And I mean, it's still excellent to be an activist.
No regrets.
No regrets at all.
That's good to know. So what would you say is the most challenging aspect in that which you do? You know, you dealing with the youth. And yes, like you just mentioned, there's a lot of, you know, gangsterism that's quite rife in Eleies River, right? So what would you say is the most challenging part of being an activist?
Well, being an activist, the challenging part of being an activist is that you always need to stand up first.
Right.
Whether you win now, because you're the activist, you're trying to make changes and you're trying to lead. You need to, even at the protest, when you're an activist, you need to stand up the first one. So the challenges I face being an activist, or the challenges we face being Feed the Future, working in the communities, is that the only challenges we basically face around that is we cannot do this alone. I mean, we are a non-profit organization who try to make positive changes with all activists around, but all these activists cannot do it alone. We do need support, like literally, we need the broader government support, we need the city support, because I mean, challenges will be a daily issue if you do not have the people, like the people who's in control support. So that is why I say the most challenges we have is we don't get support at all from the city of Cape Town or even the government. That is why the challenges is only laying by them, because I mean the little bit of funds we have, I mean we use it within our community, and I mean we do not have lots of money. That is why I say that the challenges we face on a daily basis is like the support from the city and the government.
Yes, which brings me to my next question. How long has your organization been around, and what is it exactly do you do?
Okay, well, Feed the Future was registered in this month. It's and the previous I was with an organization called HopeGodsGiftAll. I was with various organizations, but the projects we're doing is standing for more than 2 years. So the projects isn't under any umbrella, except it's now under umbrella called Feed the Future. So previously the projects weren't on any umbrella because we don't want to bring the project onto an umbrella because we want the broader community members also to join. But bringing it on an umbrella like Feed the Future, I mean, because we're working with Feeding the Future, with educational skills, Feeding the Future, with leadership skills, Feeding the Future, with agricultural skills, permacultural skills, self-sustainability. So what we do within our communities, Feed the Future is standing a long time, like they're standing like for years now, but the registration took place on this month. Yes, this month the registration took place, but we didn't want to register Feed the Future at all. So we decided to register Feed the Future, and we work with youth and communities, and I mean there the changes come from with youth and communities.
Wonderful. It sounds like quite a calling, I should put it that way, and one that you absolutely enjoy. Besides the aspects that you say you are engaged in, what else does your organization do?
Well, our organization do quite a lot. We do work with women and children. That's our main focus for now because we're doing this hygiene packs. We're trying to move in schools as well because we do realize that women doesn't have access, all women doesn't have access to sanitary pads, etc. We're working with women, and then we're working with children as well. What our organization do is we work with rehabilitation pilots projects, like the agriculture one is one of the biggest rehabilitation projects because I mean that is a platform where people can rehabilitate themselves as well.
Right.
And then we work with feeding schemes as well. We have around about 11 soup kitchens that's in our feeding scheme, and that is where the agricultural project came in, where it can supply for the feeding scheme to run for at least 7 days per week or for at least more than half a month. So that is where our organization is, and we also busy with educating young children at school, like grade
That's so
1
powerful.
till grade R's, on around food and food security, food planting, and I mean because food is important. Also the planting of food, the organic food. So we only grow organic food, which means it's a long process that we're currently busy with. We do not use any chemicals at all, so it's only organic. So the benefits from the organic food, it's much more healthier and it's much more educational to teach our children. So the project we're running is feeding schemes, women and children, a hygienic pack campaign we're also running, and the agriculture with permaculture.
Great. When we come back, we're going to unpack a little bit more about that. We just need to go to a quick break. Don't go away. Welcome back. If you've just tuned in, this is Open Studio. I'm your host, Thabang Segaecho, Cape Town TV channel 263. I'm sitting with Mr. Deklerk today on the program, and he's doing amazing things within and around the community of Eleies River here in Cape Town, right? You are the activist and project manager for this wonderful initiative that you have. So before we went on to the break, we're explaining other spheres of your organization. You mentioned women, which is quite critical. What else do you do if you just want to take that up for me?
In terms of the projects we're running is that the projects we are running at this moment is the main project is basically the agriculture, because we do realize it's important for communities or non-profit organizations to support or supply food for our communities. And then the women thing is also something that came up with us for years now. When we recently started this project, we also supporting women with substance, even young people or even any community member that's on substance. We take them to projects or pilots that can rehabilitate themselves. So I mean, then we also educate small farmers to become farmers, to sell the produce to the markets, etc. But for now, we as an organization, we cannot or do not sell our veggies that we're growing because for the love of our community. Just to touch again on regarding the women, I mean, the women are so important because, I mean, they are the change makers in our communities. That is why we want to educate our women not to give up, because our women are facing daily issues day by day, and some of us do not realize it. So that is where it came in, that our women project is actually the one that's actually running now the best, because it's women coming together, women going into schools, educating and liberating the children, all the women in high schools as well, in primary schools. So I mean that is one of the projects that currently the best for me so far, because supporting the women is
because they are
excellent.
That's very powerful, especially during the times we live in. And you mentioned that your flagship project is the one to do with agriculture, right? Which is even more important now than ever before, given the circumstances under which we live. And for you, is the organization only based in Eleies River, or are you also promoting farming around the surrounding areas?
For now, it's only in Eleies River, but we do have community members or communities who joined Feed the Future. But due to our funds that are only limited for Eleies River, that is where we cannot access all these communities. But in terms of Eleies River is the greater Eleies River is so big. So our project is now just in Eleies River. In Eleies River, there's Clark Estate, there's Trinity Place, there's Eureka, there's different areas in Eleies River. Right. So, and it's big areas. So for us to only be in Eleies River now, because our funds can only limit Eleies River. But what we do with our vegetables, we also produce it outside Eleies River for community feeding schemes outside Eleies River. Like on a daily basis, we receive loads of messages from different community members asking for food. And I mean, it's not something bad, because feeding scheme doesn't have donations anymore. It's drying up. That is why we want to practice this out in all communities. We've moved into communities, but we cannot stay in communities because of the limited funds we have. And that is our challenge we face on a daily basis, like our funds.
Yeah, which brings me to this question then. You know, is this organization, or what you are currently doing, with the intention of one day alleviating the level of unemployment in the country, or particularly in Eleies River? Do you see that actually happening at any point, or is it currently happening?
At this moment, I think this project, we basically created this project for employment.
Right.
That was our that's our vision. So basically, on regarding youth unemployment in Eleies River, it's critical. It's very, very high, and it's a lot of unemployment youth. So, and unemployment can change lots of stuff, because I mean, when you're unemployed, you need to go seek for money.
That's right, and that's where other criminal activities come into play.
That's where gangsterism is coming in there, because where can you access money if you doesn't have a work? I mean, it's ridiculous if I have to mention it. So we just want to decrease the rate of unemployment in Eleies River across Cape Town, because we've also saw that in our community we're working with percentages. So we decrease the rate of hunger in our community because the agriculture project is working. But now we also want to decrease the rate of unemployment in our communities, because I mean, this is a project where our communities can sustain ourselves and also be employed by ourselves, you know. And then this is also a project where we can educate people to plant their own food, to sell their own food to the market. So yeah, that's it.
So powerful. I really admire the kind of work that you're doing. It's not easy. I'm sure it comes with its own set of challenges, but I love your tenacity in it. Where do you see the organization 5 to 10 years from now?
Well, this is a question I like. Well, I see our organization within 5 years now, 10 years now, producing food for the supermarkets here within Cape Town, in the broader Cape Town. I see our organization's truck standing at communities delivering organic food. Employment rate is decreased more than 50% perhaps on regarding this project. I see our organization making changes within the communities within 5 till 10 years. I see our organization producing to all kind of local suppliers, local shop owners, even to ShopRite. I mean, our organization will be running it as well. And then we also looked at, why don't we also start in a restaurant? So I mean, organic restaurant, just vegetables, vegan restaurant. So in 5 till 10 years, I just see positive changes within our organization, because I mean, changes come from youth and communities, and we have the youth and communities all by ourselves.
You know, I really salute you in what you do, especially now. You know how word has been going around, people have been encouraged to eat more healthier, right? Because of COVID, and it's been found that if your immune system is strong because you're eating organic food, it does actually help in terms of building up resistance within the immune system of the person. So I really applaud you for what you do. It's needed now more than ever before. What would you say, or rather with your experience, do you think there's enough adequate support coming in from the government?
At this moment, literally no, not at this moment. In terms of governmental support, we didn't get any support yet from government, and we're trying to liaise with them, we're trying to engage with them to see the challenges we're facing. We also liaised with the Minister of Agriculture. He will be visiting our garden on the 22nd of April. So we're basically seeing on how Minister can assist, but basically the biggest challenges we need from government or the city of Cape Town, give us funds so that we can sustain our community, buy equipment, create employment, make this platform go wider and feed our communities, because there's lots of people who's dying every day from hunger. I mean, and some people will not believe it, but it's true. So that is where we want to make sure that each child is fed, each young man is employed. So support from the government or the city would do us much better.
That also includes you, our viewers at home. Your support could also really benefit this organization. And I really do salute you for what you do. When we come back, we will continue the conversation. Don't go away. If you just tuned in, this is Open Studio, Cape Town TV, channel 263, where we speak all things communities. And today is no exception. We have Mr. Deklerk.
Yeah, that's correct.
On studio, speaking about one of the most critical components, of that which helps in sustenance within our community, which is agriculture. Very critical. And you were speaking before we went on to the break about the lack of support, rather, of from coming in from government, particularly to do with agriculture. Are there other avenues that you're exploring?
I mean, in order for us to create awareness for government, we need to work hard, and we did. We've created this campaign where we would liaise with TVs or to put us out there so that government can see the work we as communities do, because what we're doing is that we have a campaign called Bigger Body. We're raising funds there, and I mean individuals are supporting this project. So why not the government? Because all our food that we're currently growing at this moment is going straight into the soup kitchens, the non-profit organizations, even the communities. We're feeding the communities, and I mean, this is something that government should also do. This is something that the city should do, because the city says that the city works for you. So I mean, in order to support us, this is a call out for the city. This is a call out for the government as well. Support us, support our unemployed youth, because if the city and the government wants to stop or decrease gang violence, I mean, support us by employing us, then definitely you will see changes is coming from communities, because more than 50% in each community are unemployed youth. And I mean, the youth are those who take part in gangsterism. So why don't we, why don't we try to make a stop on that, create platforms, pilots, support these projects, even though it's for a 3 months or a 6-month employment rate, at least there's a source of income within the communities.
Yes, 100%. And have you guys maybe explored the private sector in this regard to see how they can strategically partner with your organization?
Well, we had a lot of agriculture people coming out to us from the Department of Agriculture, just coming to us, looking at our garden and seeing what food it produce, asking all rounds of questions, saying they're coming back, but never supported us. That is where we also liaise with them or get in contact with them via our food garden, because they visited, and every day we receive different visitors. We were receiving, like, for a whole week, just visited from Department of Agriculture, but actually no support, because we liaise with them. We said to them, we need support, not just for people to come and see our garden, because we're working in this garden, and I mean our daily sweet in that garden, and that is the young ones' daily job, because they're working most of the time they're working 8 hours in the garden, and it's hard work. And I mean, what I've also mentioned is that growing your own food is like printing your own money. So that is where it came
like
in.
that.
So if we grow our own food for our communities, create employment, basically like printing our own money. So it's just a matter of support, you know. It's just people, it's just for government to invest in this kind of projects because agriculture is important. It's very, very important, and food is very, very important.
One of the basic needs, right?
Exactly. Every day you need to have food every day.
Exactly. Where would you say agriculture is right now? Now taking it on a broader context, as far as South Africa is concerned.
In terms of our garden, in terms of
just like for South Africa as a country, where do you think we are? Are we winning in that regard? I mean, that's what you do, right? So are we in good standing with food supply? Yeah.
Well, I mean, in terms of the agriculture, I've watched different news sites that state that even our grapes are not producing right anymore.
Right.
There's lots of farms that are not in motion anymore. It's not operating well anymore. So I think that is where the lack is now. So now we as agriculture in South Africa, in Cape Town, I mean, it's not running like it used to run, you know. It's not, the fruit and the vegetable are not growing like it used to grow. Different newspapers you will be watching on regarding the farmers, the different issues they face, and I mean it's more decreased, and not more than last year. Like last year it was decreased, like this year it rises up. So I mean in terms of agriculture, we're not really that far. So that is why this projects can, with other projects as well, creating more of agriculture can take us again to where South Africa was, or where South Africa were in the previous years.
And with that, knowing that we were never really there, then COVID hit. Okay, how did you guys navigate your way when COVID actually came into existence, if I should put it that way?
Well, in terms of COVID-19, I mean, it was a challenging year. It was for COVID. It was very challenging for us because we were vulnerable. We didn't know what to expect at all. So now we, as the farmers or the gardeners, we also need to move on our feet because feeding schemes are now running and they supporting people. And more than half of our people lost our jobs. Yeah, exactly. So how can they get access to a source of income? Now we must run on our feet by getting more open spaces to plant more food in order for us to go in communities, because I mean we've moved around with permits, and that is the only thing that basically made us do this thing outside, because we couldn't move anywhere, like you know, at level 5 we couldn't move it anywhere, staying at home. But the thing that worked for us, the gardens were in our backyards, big open backyards. So that is where we planted our food, and we also created more of these spaces in the backyards. So, and also the food, all the food, giving it to the feeding scheme, created vegetable boxes. We've also created like 150 vegetable boxes from our first harvest. And I mean, that's a lot. And a vegetable box contains all types of vegetables within it. So I mean,
that's powerful.
COVID was challenging, but for us, we tackled it
head on. I like that. And for our viewers at home, you know, somebody could be watching right now saying that, wow, I would really like to get involved. I want to see and find out how is it, or how can I play a role in supporting that which you do. How do we get a hold of you?
For the viewers out there, you can search me on Google, which is Geronimo Deklerk. You will get some contact details. You can also log into our Facebook page, which is Feed the Future NPO, and you can also send me an email, which is geronimodeklerk2020@gmail.com, with my cell phone number. It's 078-901-8735.
Wonderful. And for somebody that's watching right now, you youth, you know, you're doing something for the youth, by the youth. What would you say to somebody right now to inspire them if they're wanting to do something like that which you are doing, or anything else for that matter?
Well, the best thing I can say is to never give up, inspire and mobilize. Because I mean, changes come from youth and communities, and we broad in youth and communities. Cape Town has a lot of communities and youth within it. So never give up, inspire and mobilize.
Wonderful. So what do you enjoy, very briefly, what do you enjoy most about what you do?
Managing the project, it's basically what I enjoy most, because when you manage the project, you get to meet with different farmers, you get to meet with different gardeners, educating, you know, being a facilitator as well. I'm enjoying to be facilitating around gardens, educating people in different communities, different farms, different gardens. So I love what I'm doing. Growing food, it's like growing communities. So
wonderful stuff. Well, that's all we have for you today, folks. Thank you so much for having tuned in. Thank you for coming through today.
Well, thank you very much for having me.
Wonderful. And that's all we have for today. Until we meet again next time, this is Open Studio, Cape Town TV Channel 263. Signing out, I'm your host, Thabang Segaecho. A good afternoon to you.